Good morning, everybody. That is a courtesy, by the way, and not a statement of fact, as has been the case ever since last November. But it is a courtesy. I like courtesies. I also, I have a thing for norms and decorum and all the rest, right? But that's in a healthy democracy. I think that all those things should exist. I think that a polite civil society, is wonderful. I think it's great. I think it's the ideal that we all should aspire to. I mean, it sounds familiar almost, like, oh, we used to. Oh, that's why, because we used to. Okay, well, anyway, now we have to meet the Republicans weapon for weapon. These people have left norms, decorums, they've left those a long time ago. It's just taken the Democrats a long time to catch up, okay? And now we need to fight back using the same weapons that they're using, no matter how disgusting it might feel. But this right here is the right thing to do. Gavin Newsom has got it. And I'm going to tell you, I love Gavin Newsom. I wanted him to run for president a while ago, long time ago, in fact, because he's such a good debater. But when he started a motherfucking podcast and had Charlie Kirk on, I was like, ow, we're done. And I dumped him at that point. But ever since, his state has been unconstitutionally under siege from our federal government, I've kind of softened on the guy because he's fighting back in a way I am attracted to. So, and that's saying a lot if you know me. Trump's Texas gerrymander is supercharging a new war on democracy. It sure the fuck is. Texas Republicans just unveiled a shocking plan to give their party 5 new House seats. Well, it's not shocking since he announced it, weeks ago. Hey, Mr. Texas, I need 5 new seats because we need to rig the midterms. Because you know what? Well, because they hate me. Because you're a creep. At any rate, Donald Trump's plan to rig the 2026 midterms became crystal clear on Wednesday as Texas Republicans introduced a new congressional redistricting map that will give their party 5 new seats in the U.S. House, making it much more difficult for Democrats to retake the chamber next November. Now, the map is designed to give Republicans control of nearly 80% of the state's House delegation, though Trump only won 56% of the vote there in 2024, if we believe those numbers. The plan creates 30 districts that Trump would have carried by 10 points or more, up from 25 seats in the current map. Republicans accomplished this feat by drawing more Republicans into the seats of 2 vulnerable Democrats in South Texas, Reps Henry Culler and Vincent Gonzalez Jr., and eliminating Democratic-held seats in Austin, Houston, and Dallas-Fort Worth. They're some of their biggest big cities, blue cities. No Republican-held seats became significantly more competitive as a result. New districts are typically redrawn following the decennial census, and it's highly unusual to redraw them mid-decade, absent a court order. Texas did it once before, in 2003, under the orders of then-Majority House Leader Tom DeLay, but the legislature at the time redrew districts that had been drawn by a court. This time, the GOP-controlled legislature is redrawing maps that were drawn by that very legislature, which is virtually unprecedented. The maps are already bad, said Emily Ebby French, policy director at Common Cause Texas. Now they're getting worse. Texas State Senator Phil King, chair of the Senate's Special Committee on Redistricting, said the new map was drawn by GOP redistricting operative Adam Kincaid, who authored the 2021 Texas redistricting maps that civil rights groups are challenging as racially discriminatory, and is the executive director of the National Republican Redistricting Trust, which was founded after the 2020 census to coordinate the GOP's 50-state redistricting effort because white people were not the majority anymore in this country, and that sent the GOP into a full racist panic that we are seeing now They're exhibiting the symptoms of full on in front of everybody in the form of the mass deportation scheme. The brazenly partisan nature of the re-gerrymandering of the state undercuts the stated rationale for the special session provided by the Justice Department, which claimed earlier this month in a letter to Texas that 4 congressional districts, all represented by Black or Hispanic Democrats, constituted unconstitutional racial gerrymanders. Now remember that. Voting rights experts, Democrats, and even Texas Republicans have since debunked that argument. Justin Levitt, a high-ranking official in the Obama Justice Department, called the letter a fig leaf, if you think one is necessary, to give the governor an excuse to redistrict. The DOJ claimed that coalition districts in which different minority groups form a combined majority of the voting population, violate the Voting Rights Act, citing a 2023 opinion by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the most conservative appellate court in the country. But the Fifth Circuit's decision, while holding that states like Texas are not required to draw coalition districts under the Voting Rights Act, did not say that existing coalition districts must be dismantled, as the DOJ letter claims, nor has the Supreme Court weighed in yet on that decision. Nina Perales, Vice President of Litigation at Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, testified before the Texas State Senate that the Justice Department's argument was factually wrong and littered with errors. The Texas Republicans have repeatedly asserted that they drew the current redistricting maps race blind, contradicting the DOJ's claims. I've certainly never seen any indication that any map that has been passed out of this legislature, any time I've been in the legislature, would violate in any way the Voting Rights Act. That's a lot of innies. You're lying, said State Representative Cody Visett, the liar, the Republican chair of House Special Redistricting Committee, who just lied a lot. Democrats in the Texas legislature have sought to subpoena the head of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, a close Trump ally, who authored the DOJ letter, to compel her to testify. I would love to see that. If anything, the 2021 maps give too little representation to communities of color, argue civil rights groups who are challenging it in court. 95% of the state's population growth over the past decade came from people of color, which sent the white people into a flurry of panic. It did. This is why everything is happening in this country right now. Swear to God. Like, they are like great replacement theory people all day long. God, calm down, white people. The world changes. Go with it, right? Ride the vibes. What's the big deal? Fuck. Trump's new plan makes the problem worse. By targeting districts held by minority representatives, including Representatives Al Green in Houston and Greg Cesar in Austin. This map is racist, it's illegal, and is part of a long, ugly tradition to try to keep black and brown Texas from having a voice, said Democratic Representative Mark Vesey. Blue states could retaliate in response to Texas's new map, but their options are more limited. California and New York, where Democrats could pick up the greatest number of new seats, have independent redistricting commissions and prohibitions on partisan gerrymandering that make any mid-decade redistricting effort more complex. And Democrats have already come close to maximizing the number of representatives in other blue states, such as Illinois, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Meanwhile, Republicans are pushing forward with the mid-decade redistricting in Ohio and floating similar schemes in states including Florida, Indiana, and Missouri. Trump, with the help of conservative majority on the Supreme Court, is supercharging a new race to the bottom, using redistricting as the latest tool in his ever-growing war on democracy and brown people. As his popularity sinks, and a majority of the public disapproves of his handling of every major issue, the president seems to believe the only way his party can win is if these election outcomes are predetermined in their favor. Like, duh! The president and his party are afraid of the voters. Former Attorney General Eric Holder testified before the Senate Democrats on Wednesday, and they're trying to manipulate the maps in Texas so that they can rig the elections in 2026. So, I agree. I say I'm full on board. Let's do it. I'm in Washington State. I'm reaching out to my senator to talk about this redistricting effort as a way to fight back against the rigging of the 2026 midterms. I think it's a wonderful plan. I think it's finally we're taking the gloves off and we're fighting back in a way that the Republicans can get behind. At least they can understand, right? You guys have a good day. I'll be back in a little while with more. Thank you for watching my videos.